Welcome back to the channel. First off, sort of an apology to say it's been a while since I've done a proper face-to-face video. I know it's just been so busy with work and other commitments, but thank you for bearing with me. A really big thank you to everybody who's pushed the channel beyond the magic 1,000 subscriber mark. It really does mean a lot, and I'm generally hopefully I can keep adding content that you will enjoy. But if you do like this video, when you get there, please hit the like button or the subscribe button as you feel. That would be really appreciated. So what are we doing today? Well, let's spin you around and I'll show you. So what we're doing today is we are replacing the two tie rod ends from a steering rack because they're, I think, are fairly worn. This one is from the passenger side, hence why it's got an L on it. And then I've got a brand new one up here. Lemforder part, which is original equipment, clearly not in the Mercedes box because we don't like wasting lots of money. You can see the part number on there, but I'll put them both in the description of the video. The one behind here, so the steering at the moment is sort of a bit vague. The tracking's been done. I suspect the ball joint is knackered because I've hit a couple of potholes in the last 6 months, really deep ones, one of which was in UK. And about 6 weeks ago I hit a piece of debris on the motorway, and it's just not been quite right since then. So this is the sort of, it may be other bushings. All the arms appear to sort of be nice and straight as they should be, nothing obviously bent that shouldn't be bent as it is. So I think this is probably the most likely cause. It's also the cheapest part to start with. So let's dive on in and let's get replacing. So let me talk you through the parts. You've got this bit is the bit we're replacing. You'll need a 21mm spanner to undo this nut and another 21 or equivalent to hold this steady. And you need to undo this before you undo the bolt because then you've got more leverage and then it won't move. And all you need to do is just move this back a quarter of a turn or half a turn at most to allow this bit to screw off, and that should keep your tracking 99% accurate. You may well need to redo it, but it'll certainly be good enough to get you going until you can get into your nearest tracking workshop. This part here is very simple. Again, it's a 21mm ring spanner or socket that you need, but you need to be able to hold this top bit with a 10mm and undo it. Now the tightness of this when it's done up is 60 Newton meters plus 90 degrees, so it's going to be about as tight as a sort of a brake caliper mounting bolt. That's the sort of effort you've got to put into to release it. So I'm going to dive in now. I'll move the camera so I've got better access here, and I'll try and get you filming probably from the other side so the angle will change. We'll get this removed off, and then this should allow me to then undo this. I've put some WD-40 on here as penetrating oil, the only time you really need to use it rather than a lubricant. That should clean off some of the dirt that was in here and should get this to screw off. This joint itself is not under any pressure, so when you start unscrewing this, then this will drop down. This should not be like sort of a bottom ball joint that you'd find on one of the suspension joints where you've got to separate the joint. This should just drop out fairly easily. So let's crack on. So off camera, and only because I'll be blocking it, and I'm sure we can all work out how to use a spanner, what I've done is I've just taken this and I've just undone it, as you can see. So it's just loose and it's taking the inner tie rod with it. Okay, so that's all you need to do. That will mean this here, when you release it from this bolt up here, should just be able to screw off easily. Let's keep our fingers crossed and hold that thought. So I'm now going to move up here, get my spanner on here. So bearing in mind everything I've said, you might need a bit of leverage. The issue is where you are now is just at the bottom of the liner here for the wheel arch. So leverage is could be a bit awkward. You might need an extension bar on here, but you just need to push. You need to then just crack this nut off to start with. It'll probably start turning up to about halfway before you then need to grip the top. So let's just see if we can get this undone now with a bit of brute force, as it's very hard to get a sort of ratchet in here. but let's see. No, I think I'm just going to have to get a hammer to sort of shock it a little bit, because I'm not sure I can get a lever bar in there with enough length. So let's just get this freed off. So what I've just done, and to spare your ears, I've just hit here with a hammer just to shock it, and it's moved. Okay, so this is now coming off, and you can see what I mean. This is now holding this top bolt. So what you need to do is hold this, undo with this. Okay, if you've got a ratcheting spanner, that's great. My ratchet spanners only go up to 21, so you've just got to kind of work with that and undo that whilst holding this one. Well, you can give it another go, because we're not going to reuse this joint. So I'm being a bit more brutal with it. If we were reusing it, you'd absolutely want to make sure that this wasn't spinning. But as I said to you earlier, once we've undone this nut, you can now see where I'm hand turning this, that this is turning on its own and leaving the inner tie rod where it is. So when we start with it, when we take this out, we'll have it vertical, and then we'll unwind it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to unscrew this, and then I will come back to you once this has dropped down out of the way, because this will take me about 2 minutes, I think, based on the other side, to get this all the way to the top. Right, so that's the bolt unscrewed, and then, as I said, this does just drop down. Might require a little bit of wiggling just to get the angle right. So yeah, what we're going to do now is we'll count from the top how many turns this takes, like that, all the way around to undo. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 15, 16, I'm expecting it to be 20, 17, 18, 19, oh, it's very close, 20, and it sort of came off at the bottom there like that. Okay, so you can see the original ZF Lemforder markings on here, so we've got exactly the same one. As we can see, the bushing here, or the rubber mount, looks okay, but clearly that should be coming back into the center, which it's not. So let's get the new one. So the new one's here. Again, got the ZF Lemforder markings on it. I'll take this cover off. You can see the effort. It's a real effort for me. I can hardly move that. Okay, so it just shows you how worn the other one is. Comes with a new nut. So let's start off counting this back on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So count that back hole, and that should be us roughly in about the right place. What we then do is feed this back in the hole here. Clearly you can use the weight of the wheel there to push it in, put the nut on and screw it down. Now actually, on the last side, when I screwed this wheel down here, this nut down here, move you around slightly. So when I screwed this nut down last time on the other side, it didn't spin the inner spindle at all. And actually about halfway down, you can see that it's going on quite easily and it's not turning this inner spindle. So all you need to do is just widen this down. You might actually be able to almost move that by hand all the way down. So you screw that back up and tighten it up. As I said, it's 60 Newton meters plus 90 degrees. And then all you then need to do is to tighten this nut back up to where it was, back sort of quarter of a turn, to hold it tight against there. Now the tracking should be about 99% right. And then that's it. Put the wheel back on and hopefully that's cured the problem. If it hasn't, then of course we'll be coming back to do another video about replacing one of the other things on the suspension here. So just to finish off, just been for a test drive. Initial impression is good. Clearly I'll probably need to get on the motorway because it was sort of more pronounced above about 110 kilometers an hour, so getting towards sort of 65, 70 miles an hour. But yeah, it feels promising at the moment. The tracking, I would say, actually is okay. It probably could do with an adjustment, but it's not really noticeable, certainly up to about 45, 50 miles an hour where I've just been on the local roads. So fingers crossed that solves the problem. If not, I say I'll be back doing another video shortly on some other part of the suspension. But until then, keep safe. If you like the video, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Really be appreciated, and see you in the next video. Goodbye.